Hey guys, on yesterday's video, me and my friend Allison talked about the works of Neil Gaiman, but I discovered today that she was confused and she thought we were talking about someone named Neil Bauman. I don't know who Neil Bauman is, so I decided to investigate, and it turns out there is an author named Neil Bauman, and I'd like to introduce you to some of his work today. Okay, so you can find Neil Bauman, Neil G. Bauman to be more precise, on Amazon.com. He's a prolific author. He's written several books, and let me read you some of the titles of them. We have Autotoxic Drugs Exposed, 3rd edition. Supersensitive to Sound? Keys to Successfully Living with Your Hearing Loss. Take Control of Your Tinnitus. Help, I'm losing my hearing. What do I do now? Phantom Voices, Ethereal Music, and Other Spooky Sounds. That one sounds pretty cool. I like spooky music, so I might enjoy that one. When Your Ears Ring, Say Goodbye to Meniere's Disease, Grieving for Your Hearing Loss, Talking with Hard of Hearing People. It sounds useful. So there's a bit of a theme here, as you can tell. He seems to be rather obsessed with hearing loss and hearing loss-related illnesses. These books range in price from about $8 to about $1,700. That seems like a bit of a jump in price, but they are hard to find and out of print, so maybe it's worth it. They've been described by Amazon reviewers as useless and also useless. It should be noted that most of these books are about 36 pages in length, so whether or not we actually call that a book is debatable. If you're going to pay the $1,700 for one, you should probably know that you're spending in excess of $50 per page for that book. So that's I don't know if you consider that a good bargain. Seems like a lot to me. But maybe if you're losing your hearing, it's worth it. I'm not sure. I'm not the one to ask about that. You'd have to ask Dr. Neil G. Bauman. Is he a doctor? I don't know if he's a doctor. It doesn't say. These books are very well designed. I want to put a picture of the cover art up on the screen for you. I hope you'll enjoy that. Look at those colors. Isn't that scream, I have to buy this to learn about hearing loss? I think the graphic designer nailed it there. I want to read you some of the descriptions for these hard of hearing books as well. In Keys to Successfully Living with Your Hearing Loss, the description says, hearing loss cuts you off from the hearing world in many ways. Really, many ways. I would have thought just the one way of not being able to hear, but apparently there are many ways. We'll have to look into that. And then in another book description, Communicating with the Hard of Hearing, he tells us that communicating is important. So we need to know that. That's good. But it turns out that our friend Bauman he does more than one thing. He's multi-talented. He doesn't just write books about hard of hearing. There's a couple other ones here on Amazon. You have to dig a bit to find. But there's also books like Jethro, The Untold Story, and Judas, Portrait of a Loser. I like that title, Portrait of a Loser. So there seems to be a bit of a biblical interest here as well. Let me read you some of the descriptions of these books. Here I have Jethro, The Untold Story. I couldn't really remember who Jethro was, but it says here that Jethro was the father of Moses, and it says he was an enigma. Here it is. Jethro is a bit of an enigma. He appears seemingly out of nowhere in the Bible and shortly thereafter disappears back into the mists of antiquity. Okay, that's true, but it's also true for like 90% of the characters in the Bible. Almost everybody shows up out of nowhere and then disappears without a trace. So I don't know why he singled this man out, but if you're fascinated by Jethro and you have to know what happened to him, this might be a good read. Better still is the description for Judas, Portrait of a Loser. It seems like a bit of an understatement to describe Judas as a loser, but here we go. Judas Iscariot's life was full of contradictions. Why would a disciple of Jesus betray him? Could a betrayer like Judas be saved? Even though he repented, he was eternally lost. How can this be? How did Judas die? The Bible gives two apparently conflicting accounts as told by Matthew and Luke. Which one is correct? Did you know that Judas was married and had children? What happened to his wife and children? This is what I was thinking when I read the Bible. I got to the part about Judas and they said he betrayed Christ and Christ went off to be executed. And I said, wait a minute, hold your horses. What happened to Judas's children? We never are told. That's shoddy storytelling, if you ask me. I'm glad we have Neil Bauman to fill in the blanks. If you, like me, just can't get past the glaring omissions in the Bible, not talking about Judas's children, this sounds like a great book for you. So Neil Bauman seems to be the master of making points which are true, but which are ultimately not very informative or important, such as that Jethro was an enigma and that hearing loss makes it hard to deal with things that require hearing. If you are in need of these obvious points being made, seems like he might be a good author to check out. I hope this clears things up for my confused friend Allison. I hope she will no longer confuse the writer-storyteller Neil Gaiman with the expert on hearing loss and biblical scholar Neil G. Bauman. And I hope that this has been informative for the rest of you. Maybe you'll get to find some new author and buy some new books and learn some things about hearing loss. In any case, I've been Logan Albright. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If so, please subscribe to my channel, leave me some comments, and I will catch you next time. Have a good one.